Hello and welcome to another lap guide for the iRacing Camel GT series. This week we're at Donington. Here's the lap first. Okay, so lap time there's a 1:16.925. Let's go ahead and jump back to the start of the lap. And before going into this turn by turn, couple notes on weather and setup. So we have afternoon weather. I used 90 Fahrenheit track temp for my practice and setup tweaking, and we will see definitely up over 100 Fahrenheit track temp. So when that happens, a couple things you can do that might be helpful with the setup. Actually several things. Consider reducing tire temps just a bit if you're having trouble with traction. Also, maybe increase the wing and the rake of the car by raising the spring perch offset on the rear end. That can help you a little bit with understeer and traction. So try that out. The optimal lap time I was able to get just in my testing was a 1:16.659. The very last sector is where I'm probably having the most trouble with consistency. The S's chicane and the last couple of hairpin turns. So we'll get into that as we get through the lap here. So let's go ahead and move up into turn one. So the approach to turn one, red gate, you're going to you want to set up wide. You can come up over the line here without a cut track. I just aim for about the midpoint, and starting to brake at about halfway across the dotted line here, about a 70% brake there. Now, with this corner and some of the other corners here at Donington, you want to avoid an early apex because that's going to compromise the speed that you can carry off the corners. It's going to put you into a bit of an awkward line where you'll have to kind of delay your throttle inputs to avoid running wide. And so that definitely applies here, where you want to make sure that as you come down in here into red gate that you're not going to apex into the early part of the curbing. The apex that I would recommend focusing on is really just past this access road, where you can see kind of the darker dirt coming in, and apexing the car right at about that point of the corner, and then starting to ease back into throttle right after that. This is a downshift into third, so from fifth down into third here. And then, of course, here being patient on the turn in, making sure that you can get right up there onto the curbing there for the apex, and then start to ease on the throttle right at that point. And then by the time you reach the opposite curbing, you'll be back to full throttle. And then now shifting up into fourth gear. So let's go ahead and play that corner through here at speed. So down through Craner curves, this is all full throttle. Just get kind of close to the curbing at each section of the curves here. And down into the old hairpin. So what I like to do in the old hairpin is to make sure that I'm getting the right turn-in point. Right at about the point that I reach the curbing here to the left, I'm going to start my turn in. There's going to be a quick downshift into fourth first. So there's going to be some light, about 40% brake just before reaching the curb. Blip, downshift into fourth. And just as the car touches the curbing, you can kind of hear it as the tires come into the curbing. going to start to turn in and aim to use all of the curving here to the right, and then getting back to full throttle pretty quickly after, not only to kind of help catch the car, to avoid oversteer as you're coming across the apex, to kind of catch it soon after that. But you can also get back to full throttle as the road straightens up pretty quickly here if you've hit that apex well. Now, while you can get up into the dirt here a little bit, it does get a little bit rougher, unsettles the car a bit more, and that could potentially delay your throttle input. So I don't like to run any tighter than that there. On the exit, you can run up over the curbing into the dirt a bit and even clip the grass, and car handles that relatively smoothly. There's no off track for that, but I think that's pretty close to the limits there on the racing surface. So let's play this through. All right, so coming down now through Starkey's, this is all full throttle once again. Setting up for McLean's, you really want to get a wide entry first from this curbing across into the curbing here to the left. So this is all full throttle here, but this is the point of this is to help give you not only a straighter braking zone, but also to open up McLean's as much as you can to give yourself as much space for that. And again, this is another corner you don't want to apex too soon with. The braking point is going to start as you kind of reach the latter part of the curbing here. Threshold brake will be about 65% or so, not too hard on braking. And again, being patient on turn in. As you see the first part of the curbing, you don't want to apex into that first part of the curbing. It, again, is a little bit further past that. So you'll see car apexing really more toward the steeper angle of the corner toward the end of the curbing, and that's where I will start to get back to throttle right at about that point. And you can now carry full throttle, and again you can kind of cross over and get up into the dirt just a bit. No off track for that, and full throttle all the way to the end there. So let's play through this. Okay, so coming down now into turn 8, Coppice. Using all of the curbing to the left to open up the corner there, you're going to brake as the car kind of starts to come up the steeper part of the hill here. And there's going to be about 60% braking there. Blind corner, this is something that you'll kind of have to get the feel for as far as just getting repetitions through here as far as when you want to turn in. You could start to turn in just as you see the curbing end here to the left, and carrying 50 to 60% braking, starting to turn in just as you start to ease off the brakes and as you see the curbing end. Down into third. Now you can also get up into the dirt a little more here. I don't find that necessarily faster, but you can get into the dirt there without an off track. I just try to use all of the curbing there. And now my throttle is going to be delayed just a bit because the car is going to continue to rotate a little bit more past this curbing, and I like to get the car rotated in throttle so that I can kind of get close to this curbing to the right here on exit, and make sure that I can commit to full throttle soon and not have to lift again. Now there are a few different lines you can take through this corner. You can actually run a little wider on the first curbing here, let the car come out maybe to the midpoint of the track here, and maybe even get to throttle just a hair sooner and just kind of run a little bit of a wider line. And you don't necessarily need to get up to this curbing, but then you're going to be running out to the exit curbing maybe a little sooner. And I experimented with a few different lines through here. This was the quickest line that I ran in my testing, and so at this particular lap, this was a personal best in this sector. So this line does work well, but like I say, I have run some quick lines through here that are slightly different. So I think the most important part of this corner is to make sure that your turn-in point for this initial curbing is good, not too soon and not too late. And if you've done that correctly, if you've hit this corner well, then the rest of the corner will probably shape out a little bit differently, just depending on different timings. But that's where you're most likely to lose speed, is if you don't quite apex at the right time there. So let's play that through. All right, so now we come down into the S's chicane, turn 9. I like to use all of the curbing to the right, giving myself as much room to carry speed through. Now you can aim to get the car real close to these cones. They actually are. You can't. There's no impact. You can't collide with them. You actually clip right through them. So you can see I actually do that on the exit. And this is a little bit, you know, awkward on the exit for me. I think that I don't usually run this far up on the exit, but there's no off track for that. So just to kind of show you can clip right through these and there's no problem with it. I usually aim to use a little extra and get maybe a little closer to the first cone on the entry and not so much on the exit. The goal here is to start to get back to throttle just after you've passed the first corner of the chicane, and then to kind of ease on. My throttle was delayed just a bit because I ran a little bit wide and clipped a little bit more on the exit there than I typically would like to do. But I think every time through here, this feels just a bit different. My line is slightly different, so this is a corner that will require a fair bit of practice to get some consistency through. So I think that as you're turning in here, and as you're maybe turning in as you reach the sign here to the right, if you're aiming to get the car really as close to this first cone as you can and get a good turning angle that kind of helps point you straight through, then as you can open up steering just past the first corner, then you can get back to throttle and throttle out and keep your speed up all the way through. And that should be pretty smooth. There is a bit of a bump that you can see the car take there, but if you don't take a lot of curbing here on the entry, then you just simply have to slow the car quite a bit more to avoid running wider on the second corner. So that's just kind of a tricky chicane to take quickly. But if you hit it just right, you can really run through here pretty fast. So let's play this through. All right, so coming down into Melbourne, again using curbing on the left to open the corner up a bit. I actually come off the curbing, I think, as I start to get into braking. I'm not sure if that's just usually because it feels a little more stable under braking. As you slow the car, you're going to be downshifting into first. I think I skip from fourth to second typically here, and just to avoid downshifting into first too soon and blowing the engine there. But yeah, you could potentially skip from fifth all the way down to first if you were patient and you got the timing right there on the downshift. But I go from fifth straight down to second and then into first, and try to find the right amount of speed that you can carry through the hairpin without hearing the tires squeal and slide. You slow the car too much and you can very quickly lose 3, 4, 5 tenths here. So finding the right amount of speed through these last couple corners is, like I say, the portion of the track where I think is, for me, the most difficult to find that consistency of getting the feel for it. Another point where I definitely recommend listening to the tires to hear what the traction, how the tires are going to sound there at the limits of traction, to make sure that you're not exceeding that, because as you exceed and they start to slide here at the slower speeds, and especially in hotter temps than this, I noticed, because I did this some testing in, I think, 107 Fahrenheit track temp, and this is an area where the car can start to slide just a bit It's going to slow you through the corner, and it's going to delay when you can get back to throttle through this corner. So definitely want to be very, very careful with carrying too much speed and also getting back to throttle. So braking here, I think about my braking just because I'm coming down the downhill side here, and so just as the car kind of comes up over, there's a bit of a crest, starting to brake. It is hard, 80% braking at the threshold there, and then easing off the braking to, again, avoid locking up the tires as the car slows and you have less and less downforce. And so as you turn in, you're down into first gear now. You can aim to use the curbing here right at the peak of the corner, and you want to be off of the curbing as you start to ease back into throttle, just to make sure that you've got traction there. But then aim to use all of the road all the way out wide here. Don't turn too sharply away from it. Aim to unwind your steering as you get to throttle, because this is the point in first gear where just as the turbo spools up, you're going to have a lot of throttle oversteer. The rear tires are going to start to break free, and you could potentially spin here. So make sure you're using all of the road. And again, that's the reason for the wide entry into this corner, is to make sure that you can hit that apex and start to throttle just as you cross this apex, and then open up and have all of the space here to your left to open up steering and ease back as you roll into throttle. Very similar in the final corner here. Set up with a wide entry, 75% or so braking here at about the midpoint of the curbing, down into fourth, or down from fourth to second, and then down into first, and kind of trailing off, real light braking, getting the speed to the point where you can kind of you can see about 45 miles per hour is the 44 miles per hour is the lowest point of speed. But get to the point where you can begin to ease on throttle as you start to come across the curbing here. And then again, aim to use all of the road on exit as you unwind steering and as you ease back into throttle in first gear, to avoid the same problem described in the prior corner. And then of course, full throttle all the way through. So let's play through these last two corners at speed. All right, there's a lap of Donington Grand Prix. Hope you found it helpful. Talk to you later.